Welcome to the MySQL Developer Essentials series. Throughout this series, we will discuss Azure Database for MySQL Flexible Server concepts, use cases, tips and tricks for both beginner and expert level MySQL developers. Season 1 will focus on the fundamentals. In this episode, we will talk about what Azure Database for MySQL Flexible Server is. Then we will dive into some of the typical application patterns and use cases for PHP, Python, and Java developers. We will also talk about cost optimization and cost management when building applications and databases in Azure. And in the last episode of this season, we will cover migrations to Azure Database for MySQL Flexible Server. Let's start with the basics. MySQL is a freely available open-source relational database management system and is very commonly used in Linux-based virtual machines in cloud environments to add, manage, and access relational data in a database. Great examples of open-source applications that use MySQL are content management systems such as WordPress, Drupal, and Joomla. If you are reading a blog or a discussion forum on the internet, or if you are accessing a company website, there is a great chance that website is running one of these content management systems with a MySQL database in the backend. In addition to these very common content management systems, developers commonly use various languages and frameworks to build and deploy custom applications in those virtual machines. Have you ever built a PHP or a Java application and hosted it in Linux machine? Have you built an application using a microservices architecture and hosted those microservices on a Kubernetes cluster? If this sounds familiar, then you also know that planning an environment to support these scenarios can be a tedious task. You need to make sure that your application can support thousands or even tens of thousands of concurrent users. You want to make sure that your Linux virtual machines and all the servers and services running in them are secured and kept up to date. You also want to make a solid plan for high availability and disaster recovery to minimize downtime of your applications and databases. While installing and maintaining everything in a Linux virtual machine can be lots of fun and very educational, managing a production environment yourself can be a time-consuming task, especially if you're managing a fleet of MySQL servers and application services at scale. A great example of management overhead is high availability configuration for MySQL. MySQL only supports semi-synchronous replication, which is not really a true high availability solution, but more like a scale-out solution. To be able to provide transparent application failover for your applications, you are expected to configure and use proxy solutions like ProxySQL, MaxScale, or HAProxy, which all add complexity to the solution architecture. And you would still have to manage database backups yourself. You may also be paying for resources that are not fully utilized because usually you want to have a virtual machine large enough to accommodate the peak loads. This is where a managed database service like Azure Database for MySQL Flexible Server can help you. Instead of configuring and managing the infrastructure and the software needed to run a MySQL database instance and the application hosting environment yourself, you can provision a fully managed database instance of MySQL in Azure and use Azure services such as App Service, Azure Kubernetes Service, and Spring Cloud for your applications. You will also get added benefits in Azure to optimize the performance of your databases and applications, enabling you to further optimize the availability of your MySQL databases with a 99.99% SLA while reducing the complexity of your environment. Azure Database for MySQL Flexible Server is very easy to set up, manage, and scale. Routine management and maintenance tasks, such as updating the environment, managing backups, and enforcing security are automatically taken care of by Azure. You will be able to use your favorite community edition of MySQL, and you can use your favorite tools such as MySQL Workbench and Visual Studio Code. As a developer, you are free to use the programming languages and drivers of your choice. In addition to supporting more traditional languages such as PHP, Node.js, Java, and .NET, Azure Database for MySQL Flexible Server also supports Python, which is a very popular and powerful programming language that is often used with MySQL. Azure Database for MySQL Flexible Server is a new deployment mode of MySQL in Azure, which gives you granular control and flexibility over database management functions and configuration settings. Flexible Server is built on native Linux stack, making migrations to Flexible Server seamless and friction-free. What this all means is that you can build applications for MySQL that require more customization of server parameters. You can find all these server parameters in the server parameter plate of your Flexible Server in Azure Portal, and you can adjust these parameter values based on your application needs. It is also very easy to revert back to the default values. With Flexible Server, you have more options to leverage zone-redundant high availability and cost optimization options. Flexible Server can be deployed in high availability mode, which deploys primary and standby servers in 2 different availability zones within a region. This protects from zone-level failures and helps with reducing application downtime during planned or unplanned downtime events. The database files of Flexible Server are stored in highly durable and reliable Azure Premium file shares that provide data redundancy with automatic data recovery capabilities. Flexible Server performs automatic daily backups of your databases and continuously backs up transaction logs. Backups can be retained for up to 35 days, and you can restore your database server to any point in time within this retention period. To optimize cost, Flexible Server supports stopping the service when you don't need the database. During the time your Flexible Server is stopped, you will only pay for the storage you use. Additionally, if your workload doesn't need the full compute capacity continuously, you can switch the compute tier of your Flexible Server to burstable tier. I will talk more about the different options for cost optimization in episode 3 of this season. Azure Database for MySQL Flexible Server gives you built-in high availability, automated maintenance, and elastic scaling within seconds. You will have predictable performance for your database operations and your application workloads with pay-as-you-go pricing and many ways to control and optimize cost. By running MySQL in Azure, you can enjoy enterprise security and industry-leading compliance to protect your sensitive data both at rest and in motion. You will be able to build solutions that leverage the integrated data platform of Azure, which allows you to create data-powered user experiences and solutions that enable analytics and insights over any type of data. For example, you can use Azure Synapse Analytics for your analytical solution and Power BI for reporting and dashboards. Lastly, you can integrate your application and data with the powerful AI services and tools of Azure, such as Azure Machine Learning and Cognitive Services. In the next episode, I'm going to talk more about the typical application patterns and use cases for Azure Database for MySQL Flexible Server. Thank you for watching.